Hey guys, and welcome to yet another badass showdown between myself, a rubber duck of war, leading the mighty forces of the Skaven nonetheless, up against Treespit and the Warriors of Chaos. Should be a good fun game all round, and yes, lo and behold, I am actually bringing the force of Skaven. If you're not new to the channel, you'll probably know I don't tend to play Skaven terribly often, but just last night I went and watched a movie called The Suicide Squad 2, and they had a badass character in it called the Ratcatcher 2, and it really did inspire me to dust off my Skaven tomes and bring them out for vengeance. And boy oh boy, have I been having a bucket ton of fun with Skaven, particularly bringing off-meta units, lords and characters, particularly the casters as well. The Eshin Sorcerer is so amazingly cool, but you never get to see him in action, unfortunately, due to the fact that the other casters are so damn good. But speaking of underrated casters, there is an underrated lord hidden amongst us, and again, he does suffer from the same fate of the fact Skaven have a ridiculous amount of good options, both with their graces, Lord Skrog, Itic Claw even to a point. There's so many Skaven lords which can be considered very good and competitive, Deathmaster Snickage and so on, but probably the most underrated right there alongside the Master Assassin is going to be the basic Warlord. Now you're probably thinking, Ducky, you're a madman on the edge. A basic Warlord, he can't be much good, surely. He's got pretty pitiful stats for the most part, but when you put him on this glorious little mount, who we will even give a little neck scratch to, though he is quite pestilented and loads of warts and all horrible stuff upon him, he becomes a one-rat army. He can really crack down the enemy rather effectively, and as you'd expect, he is very, very fast on his glorious little mole rat here, anti-large, poison, armor piercing, and he has some really good utility with other units in the build, such as the Packmaster himself, who shall be coming in with the Scrying Stone as well as the Shock Collar, but more importantly running with the pack, giving regeneration to that Lord there is very, very useful. Now this was going to be a double cast of me showcasing two really fun builds and uses of the Warlord for Skaven, but the other battle probably has my favourite ever Skaven build in it, so I thought, you know what, that deserves its own build, and instead we're going to hop into this one. So for our build today, we'd have Skaven slaves dotted all the way along, cheap, cheerful, just very unhappy to be here, but they will die for the Horned Rat if so needs be. As we said before, we have the Packmaster and Warlord combo on this left-hand side, supported by a unit of Rat Ogres, as well as some Wolf Rats with poison. In the back burners, we do have the Pit Fighters of Hell's Deep, the Regiment of Renown Rat Ogres, who really can do some glorious damage with their Berserk trait active. We have two Clan Rats with Spears, protecting a rather small range contingent of just the Avalanche Mortars, Regiment Renowned Death Globe Mortars, and some Poisoned Wind Globadiers. You don't have to go over the top with range of Skaven, it packs an absolute punch, so bringing us one or two units, which is much easier to defend, is the way forward, at least in my humble little duck opinion. As we said before, we do have the Eshin Sorcerer, one of the most underrated lore casters and laws of magic in the entire game, just really overshadowed by two fantastic other laws. Comes in with Concealment Bombs, of course, Armor of Darkness, which when Overcast does become Air of Effect, Warp Stars, and Skitterleap, likewise, when Overcast becomes Air of Effect. We do have more Skitter's Hellion, or Hellion, that's what we're going to pronounce it for, coming into battle. The Regiment Renowned Mutant Rat Ogre, which is a really badass warrior, causes terror, has frenzy, is anti-infantry, and much like the Warrior God 4, does zap the enemies from the skies with some rather awesome lightning. In the distance, we have some more Wolf Rats as well, just kept in the real deep vanguard in case my opponent did bring a Hell Cannon or anything. But that's going to be it for our build. For my opponent, he does have some Chaos Warhounds of Poison himself. Up in the sky, two Chaos Feral Manticores. Looks like both of them are chevroned up, in fact. And it's going to be your old school Chaos Forsaken Rush build, which historically has been pretty solid up against Skaven. In the front line to absorb some damage, we have Chaos Marauders, backed up by the Demon Spew and more units of Forsaken all the way along. It looks like we have 4 units total. That is a lot of power. And then we also have 3 units of Chaos Spawn, one of which is the Weird Spawn, the Regiment of Renown, which does give Armor Sundering, which isn't too useful, but I assume my opponent is bringing it for the just extra stats all round. And we have the gigantic duck plodding its way to battle, and it is the Everwatcher himself. Final Transmutation and Searing Doom shall be the poisons of choice. Also a rather hard target to snipe at long range, due to the ridiculous resistances it can get. So I think our build, you know, we've gone pretty ham on the range with these two units because they can both dish out huge amounts of damage all round, but it's still not too expensive and rather easy to protect being just the two units. We are going to be repositioning our forces for the most part, apart from the Avalanche Mortars, who are going to start raining hellfire down upon our opponent. Chaos Marauders nearly down to half health off just one volley, but they are closing the gap rather swiftly, and we are going to switch our targets now to the Forsaken, of course a much more expensive unit. And here we go, launching shots into the sky, raining those shots down, doing some really nice damage straight out of the gate, down to about half health per volley. That's some really glorious damage value by the mortars there. The Packmasters as well as the Rat Ogres are looking to push up a little bit, get slightly aggressive, and trying to bunch up my opponent around them so our Poison Wing Globadiers as well as the Avalanche Mortars can really start dishing out the damage. And our little hero core, the Packmaster Warlord, as well as the Regiment Renowned Mutant Rat Ogre, all going after the Everwatcher here, who has popped Stand or Die to try and keep himself alive. But we have the support of the Poison Wing Globadiers coming in from some really lovely damage. Deadly Onslaught, Verminous Valor, and Rally all going down. But my opponent has managed to sneak into the back line. Avalanche Mortars getting shut down by the Manticore as our Ogres on the right-hand side simply got overwhelmed. We should have used those guys far more defensively. And it looks like an upgraded Final Transmutation is going to catch all of our characters there on our single entity, plus the Poison Wing Globadiers. That is a really good cast by my opponent, but at what cost? The Everwatcher down to about half HP. It's becoming a bit of a flustercluck, as you'd expect right now. The Packmaster as well as the Warlord trying to save the backline where possible, but both Ferromantacores are now amongst us. Clan Rats, we do have Scare Leap popped down. That was actually to increase the speed of the Globadiers, as well as the Avalanche Mortars, in an attempt to get them out of there where possible. We do have reserves now of Skaven Slaves coming in from the left-hand side just to try to support where possible. And the Eshin Sorcerer has gone for that Concealment Bomb play just to sneak away. I don't want him assassinated by any rogue Ferromantacores. In the main fight, though, the Packmaster is doing it rather well here, supported by the Warlord, who is buffed up now by Armor of Darkness, as well as the World Edge's armor. Again, 180 armor on him, so he's just a beast right now, a tank who cannot be destroyed, but it won't last forever. We've got to make the most of it, and that Chaos Ferromanticore has felt our wrath at the moment, as Skaven Slaves do pour in, looking to support. Wolf Rats are poison again, trying to hunt down these Ferromantacores as well as the F-Watcher, just to buy time for the Poison Wing Globadiers to escape. We have more troops pouring in, all of these guys rallying back to try to save the Globadiers, because they still have 19 models. That's a lot of damage output left that they can bring to the battlefield. We do have some Rat Ogres rallying here in the distance as well. The Pitfires of Hell's Deep did go into a blood-fueled rampage, but unfortunately are beaten back at the moment. And it really is the Warlord as well as the Packmaster trying to hold us together here. Lovely, lovely little shuriken from the Eshin Sorcerer, though. Just pummels into the flank of that Manticore, doing some massive damage. Those Warp Stars really were big in the pain there. Verminous Valor goes down. It looks like Rally has been called into action as well to try to keep these Rat Ogres fighting so he can surround Manticore and drag it down for good. Unfortunately, the Hellion is really badly out of position right now, surrounded by Demon Spew, Forsaken, Chaos Spawn. He's not having a good day whatsoever, but Armor of Darkness has gone down, increasing his armor up to 90, which is rather lovely. Likewise, the Warlord is still going strong at the moment, and this Manticore has been forced off due to the pressure of those Globadiers, and lo and behold, we have managed to rally the Avalanche Mortars to get one beautiful volley into the madness here, but then my opponent goes, you know what, I don't really want you to have mortars on the battlefield, I don't really blame them either, and the Chaos Warhounds are going to latch onto them and rip and tear them asunder. So we're going to come in with the Globadiers, just to do some decent damage, counter-punch with the Rat Ogres as well as the Eshin Sorcerer, and trying to keep the Globadiers alive. And we even have more Wolf Rats as well, trying to rally in the distance here. In the main fight, somehow the Regiment Renowned Mutant Rat Ogre is continuing to scrap and fight, up to 63 kills. Pinono, really solid performance so far. The Warlord as well is going to be unfortunately stuck in this Final Transmutation alongside the Hellion. And it looks like the Packmaster did manage to escape, which is certainly good news for us, as the Everwatcher is down to just shy of 900 HP. Unfortunately, that Final Transmutation looks like to have finished off our Mutant Rat Ogre, but the Warlord does manage to escape to live to fight another day. Rather wisely, my opponent is going to try to drag my Packmaster through his own troops with the Everwatcher here. So we're going to pull back. We can play the waiting game because we have the range advantage. Poison Wing Globadiers is going to be pouring on fire into the madness right now. Warlord also driving forward. A lovely Searing Doom does come down, though, onto our Poison Wing Globadiers. Ooh, those guys take a bit of a beating, but still 15 models. That is still 15 globes being launched in per volley, and that accounts to a lot of damage. Looks like Watcher once again being hunted down by the Warlord, who's just so swift. You can see he's currently up to 119 speed. That is, though, buffed up, of course, by his little Verminous Valor there. Wolf Rat's also coming to the fight. I'm just desperately trying to finish off the Watcher. We need to drag him down here. Standard Die is popped on him as he falls back. 52 HP is all that he has, but he has managed to escape, at least for now. Those are a load of Wolf Rats and nipping at his heels, and down he goes. Poor Ducky Meister himself there. Bounce power, with that, does go quite heavily in our favour right now. Poison Globe Deers just launching shot after shot into the Demon Spew, and Army Losses is getting danger close, but there's a big problem for us. Army Losses does not mean game over whatsoever. There is a lot of Chaos Spawn left on the battlefield, and they're really starting to grind down our single entities. The Mutant Rat Ogre is unfortunately running for its life once more, down to just 480 HP, and some Forsaken have once again rallied back. Seems like we are going to see some more Warp Stars from the Eshin Sorcerer's point-blank range into the Chaos Spawn, who have managed to surround the Warlord. We do luckily have Armor of Darkness going down on him, Rally, Valor, Deadly Onslaught, every buff in the book to try and keep him alive. We are going to decide to retreat and fall back, try to finish off the Weird Spawn here, and save once more these Poison Wing Globadiers, because they're reaping absolute havoc upon our opponent. You can see the Forsaken really taking quite a pounding right now. Unfortunately, the poor Eshin Sorcerer was sacrificed there to hold back the enemy, but he did a good job. Whether he was aware that that was the plan or not, it ended up being so. There's still some infantry left for my opponent. The Demon Spew are going to be spewing forth from the gates of hell, and the Skaven Slaves will meet them head to head with the Rat Ogres. We're probably feeling a lot more confident than we would be otherwise. Chaos Pharaoh Manticore is trying his little heart out here to shut down the Poison Wing Globadiers, who are continuing to fire where possible into the Chaos Spawn, which the Warlord is attempting to assassinate. But over comes the Pharaoh Manticore, and this thing hits like an absolute truck, doing massive damage to our Warlord. We're even getting in there with a little bit of friendly fire, but, you know, more damage to the enemy than us is always quite good news. And it looks like the Chaos Manticore taking globe after globe to the back of the dome. Does seem to be suffering quite badly. We're also going to be coming in with some Warp Stars, and it looks like the Manticore has indeed been shattered at this point, and Army Losses has just about ticked over. But still, my opponent is scrapping it. There's 4 Chaos Spawn, 1 Chaos Spawn here. Look how low health the Warlord is. If that Manticore, I don't think it can though, it has completely shattered. If that Manticore returned, we'd have been all kinds of problems right now. But we still are. The Warlord's leadership is actually wavering to the point of break. We pop Verminous Valor to try and keep us in the action. And we want to cycle charge. We actually break and run for our lives. And all we have left right now is some beat up Skaven slaves. And their leadership is going to be disastrous. Luckily, there's only 2 Chaos Spawn left. Can we just about cling on? Our leadership breaks. We are done for. Eshin Sorcerer comes in there and slaps 1 Chaos Spawn down. It looks like even actually assassinates the second one, so certainly a Pyrrhic victory. We had just a few beat-up units. I think the Globadiers had gone for it. Maybe the Warlord in the distance would rally, and we'd be able to seal the deal, but that was an epic close encounter. Massive shout-outs to Tree Spit there, coming in with the old classic Forsaken Chaos Spawn rush, with some Manticore little shenanigans to boot, and really made that a ridiculously close game. So very well played to him. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. What do you think of the Warlord? Do you think that he is, as I think, very underrated, particularly on his mount? I don't think on foot he's particularly amazing or anything, but on that glorious mount, he combines so nicely with the Packmaster, and those guys can really become a deadly duo. He got pretty solid damage value here, 1,821, so that is paying for himself. He came fully kitted today, and fully kitted, I believe he's just over 1,600 gold, so certainly not doing too shabby. And I've got a lot of replays where he performs even better than this, but this was just such a fun, close game, I felt like we had to show it. So we'll get into the damage dealt and damage value of all of the units in just a second, but if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a thumbs up under the video, subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content going into the future, and comment down below, what do you think of the Warlord? What did you think of this battle? Any standout moments, any MVPs for you? What did you like about the battle? What did you dislike about the Skaven? What do you think? You know what, Skaven, I think the Warlord's rubbish. Let me know that as well. I'm always happy to hear a multitude of different people's opinions. opinions. If you got nothing to say, feel free just to yell quack down below and show your support. I really do appreciate it. Seeing supportive comments, seeing people enjoy the content is such a confidence booster for continuing and kind of inspiring me to continuously make more and more work. But yes, there are links down below in the description as well. You can find my Patreon there if you would like to support the channel. Likewise, my Discord is linked down below. And on my Discord, you can submit replays to the channel to get them uploaded and cast. Involved in tournaments and events that I host. In fact, as I'm casting this, I'm about to get prepared to do a King of the Hill, which is really exciting. This is going to be filmed in advance, so it's not straight after this video goes up, unfortunately. But yeah, you can keep up to date with those and get involved, which I always love to see new people into the community. By the way, back to the glorious battle. The damage dealt, the damage value, 33 kills, 7,800 damage dealt, 1,821 damage value. A really good combination with the Packmaster. Of course, we'll be healing him up the entire time as well. 1,453 damage value, 5,916 damage dealt, and 14 kills, not too shabby. These guys together do fulfill a really good role of hunting down large creatures without having to rely on range. A lot of the time what your opponents are going to do, swarm you with 1 or 2 heavy hitters as well to beat up your characters. But these guys kind of counter that a little bit, and quite nicely if I do say so myself. As for the Eshin Sorcerer, 455 damage value from pretty much solely support character isn't bad. Those warp star kind of little throwing shurikens he can do seriously do some good damage. Likewise, Skitterleap is a nice spell, just try and get your units out of position or out of kind of bad situations. But likewise, like you're going to see in the replay probably going up tomorrow or the next day, Skitterleap can be brought to bring in some pretty wild and crazy tactics. I really like the Armor of Darkness as well. As for our infantry, of course, it's there just to die and kind of get slaughtered, and it certainly did do that, but it held out the enemy long enough to allow our heavy hitters to dish out the pain, one of which is the Poison Wing Globadiers, one of the most powerful units in the entire game. They are very cheap, almost tripling, or maybe even tripling damage, doing its damage value here. I think it's 550 gold actually, but still a ridiculous 1,556 damage value, 14k damage dealt, 81 kills, and it's not even a big risk to bring these guys. You can bring multiple of them because they're so goddamn cheap. The Avalanche Mortars did pretty good for the short time they were online, racking up just shy of 1,250 damage value, so 1,229 there, 11k damage dealt, 85 kills, and they barely fired. If we keep them online even longer, yeah, those Forsaken simply would have been slaughtered. But that was part of the point of my opponent's build. He had plenty of room to harass our back line. You're always going to lose some troops. Wolfrats did a good job, 638 damage value, the other unit 725, the Ogres 688, 432, unfortunately being used a bit more as distractions today to pin in the enemy and allow our other units to really dish out the damage. 1,697 damage value on the beautiful Hellion here, the Mutant Rat Ogre Regiment Renown, 73 kills, beautiful play, pinning in the enemy as well, distracting them in the late game. As for Tree Spit, the Everwatcher was a pain in my butt. I mean, he got off 2 really good funnel transmutations. Luckily, we had that healing to counteract it slightly. But 69 kills on the Mighty Duck, 1,447 damage value. Certainly not too shabby. Marauders did suffer. They did get a little bit abused early on by the Avalanche Mortars, as well as the Ogres just kind of pounding them down. Forsaken as well, 1,100 damage value, 331, 247, 1,204. So 2 units really performing quite fantastically. The other 2 just getting annihilated. The Chaos Warhounds were really overrun, unfortunately, by the Wolf Rats, who kind of outclassed them quite a bit. The Manticore play was really nice by my opponent. 1,538 damage value. That is not bad whatsoever, though the other one did fare slightly worse. But, you know, you win some, you lose some. Only 559 damage value on this one. Chaos Spawn across the board performed really well. Actually, I think the Weird Spawn performed the worst, with still getting over 1,000 damage value, 11k damage dealt, and 132 kills. The other 2, 1,600 damage value, and 1,200, not shabby whatsoever, but luckily we just about managed to pull some sneaky Skaven schemes and seal the deal. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, peace, and as always, stay awesome.